Hi there, fellow aero modelers. Welcome to Laikapace Pvt Ltd. So this is going to be the instruction video for building the flight test style P51 Mustang, and this is going to be showing the P51 Mustang kit that comes with all the electronics. So if you guys had purchased the only the plane, then you are not going to get the electronics along with it, and you can also opt to buy other types of electronics items such as your DC brushless motors and batteries and servo motors and other things from Laikapace Pvt Ltd. So we'll just go over the contents that you're gonna get. So you'll be having your power pod, balsa wood spars, bamboo barbecue skewers. Then next is going to be the foam pieces. So that is going to comprise of the main fuselage, horizontal and vertical stabilizer, along with some foam spars and also some foam spacers, the main wings, the left wing and the right wing, and some aesthetic, we can say, covering up parts such as your bottom plate and your front, basically your front front fuselage, and also your main bottom fuselage covering plate, along with some poster board turtle deck, poster board turtle decks. So that we'll be showing in the next video how to attach them. In this video we're going to cover up on how we will assemble the whole plane and also install the electronics. Along with these foam parts, we will also be getting a throw gauge and a dihedral gauge, so they'll come into account a while later. Apart from this, there are also going to be some 3D printed parts along with the set. For example, your control horn for your horizontal stabilizer and basically your elevator, and also the spacers that are going to go in between your fuselage. You may also opt to not use the spacer. It won't make much of a difference on the weight. And we would also be giving you guys the wheels and also a spinner along with it. Some other items that are required for the build are going to be a hobby knife or maybe even a cutter, along with some glue sticks and a hot glue gun and some amount of tape. And also, since it's going to be an RC plane, you would also require some push rod wires, or you may also call it 1.5 mm to 2 mm piano wire or music wire, and if not that, then some steel wires would also do. Steel wires with a diameter of around 1.5 or even 1.2 mm, they should be good enough. On a side note, you may also want to use some triangles, or basically something that will give you a perfect perpendicular angle or 90 degrees angle for your bases and your sides to go and fit perfectly. So right, we'll start with the build. So my personal preference is to start with the power pod. So as we can see, this is going to be the power pod, and there are a few things that are mentioned on it. For example, it has got a fold marking. So there are mainly two types of folds that flight test planes generally use, and it goes by the nomenclature A fold and also B fold. B fold we'll be showing the folds, the B fold later on. So this one over here requires the A fold. As you can see, A fold is, I mean, what you can guess from the diagram is that the side plates go over the base plate. So, or in other words, the side plates are above the base plate. So that's why an A fold. That's one way of remembering it. So also you guys need not poke out these holes just yet. These are left up to the builder to of course poke them out, since everyone has a different you can say setting to it, setting for their own different kinds of settings. So okay, to begin with it, you may want to use something like a credit card or even a small little business card would do. So what you want to do is, you can see these lines that are marked over here that are shaded with a black pen. So they're basically we need to take them out. So okay, before this, what I've done is that I've taken a rather two pieces of tapes, and I've covered up what's going to be the fold area of my power pod, the opposite side of the fold area of my power pod with tape. That is mainly because this is non-laminated Depron. This is just pure Depron. So if we put a score cut through the top layer of the Depron, then that's going to eventually crack up the whole sheet, and if the tape is not there, it's just going to fall apart, which well, experienced builders can use that technique as well, but beginners will find it a little difficult. So that's why this one is one of the best techniques that can be used as of now. Right, so you take your card, and as you can see, we've already marked some score cuts. Or if you feel that the cut is not deep enough, what you can do is you can take a hobby knife and with a blunt tip. So it's not clearly visible, but this knife's tip is slightly blunt, so that would do. What you have to do is go ahead and just run your blade very lightly through the whole center. If your blade goes into the middle, don't worry, it's all right, it can be fixed. Depron is very forgiving. So just keep on going and out in the other end. If not this, then you can also take your business card or your credit card, line it up and just run it through. There, perfect. Then move on to the next hole. Same thing. Business cards, why we don't recommend is because their edges can warp. Otherwise it can be used, it's not much of a deal, much of a big deal actually. Okay, so now that the edges the score cuts has been creased, what we want to do is we want to slowly separate these two halves, just like this. Let the foam break, it happens, it's all right, it is meant to happen. And then wherever the foam has not broken good enough, go ahead, take your knife and slightly score it. Or score is basically supposed to be a 50% cut, so just run your blade through. It should not poke out the other end, and neither should it be only on the surface. So that way you can get a perfect cut. If it's not perfect, it's all right, since as it is, this foam is going to be taken out, so your cuts won't look any good or bad that way. Then run it through the second score line, run it through all the way to the other end. Take your business card, swap it in, crease the cut and break away the foam. Now as you can see, right, so this piece has not broken off correctly. It's all right, you can just go, okay, no, it has broken off correctly. Okay, nice. So as you can see, it's got this weird mountain kind of a thing. Go ahead and with your finger, one finger placed on the bottom plate, the other finger placed on the top plate, go ahead and simply remove this piece of foam all the way up. till the front part, and you can go ahead and throw away this foam since we won't be needing this anymore. Then you may find that it's slightly the cut is not clean enough, so you can go ahead and do it with your fingers, or you can take a barbecue skewer, put it on a flat surface and run the skewer through. Since we had put the tape down below, it's going to keep this piece from detaching from the base, so that's one good thing. Now A-fold is supposed to be the side plate going over the base plate, so you can either do that this way, take the side plate and go over the base plate, or you can take the base plate and go beside the side plate, just like that. And it might sound a bit, or it might feel like it's resisting a bit. Well, that is because the cut must have put some form of resistance somewhere, so don't worry about that. Just take your skewer and rub it across the edges once and it should be all right. And right about there, that way. Then clear off the excess foam that's stuck in the middle, and try a bend try a fit again. There, much more better and much more easier. Now what you would want to do is take your hot glue gun, and if your hot glue gun has a temperature control setting, set it up to around 160 degrees Celsius. Then keep your triangle or your anything that gives you a 90-degree angle ready by your side. There, this way, be able to pick it up better. Now take your piece in your hand, and the piece that is supposed to stick shall be the place where you're going to apply the glue. So since the side layer is going to go over the top layer, what you're going to do is you're going to apply the glue on this surface. Wait, hold on. Yeah, you're going to apply the glue on this surface like that. Keep it on the on your mat or your floor, working mat basically, and then take it up and glue your side well, it's the right side, so glue your right side of the power pod in its place. Then wait for 10 seconds like that. Take your triangle, put it up across so that it maintains a 90-degree angle. So let's just do that quickly. Taking my glue gun and applying a generous amount of glue, not much to melt the foam and not too less so that its strength is close to nothing. Then keep it like around 1/8 of an inch away from the ends, since it's going to come out of the ends eventually, depending upon how much glue you've used. Fold it up there, let it seep out. If it's seeping out a bit, don't use your finger to do it. You can use a spare piece of foam to just clear off the edges. 10-second mark is over. Take your triangle, put it across the base and hold it in place. Hold it for around 40 seconds. Move the triangle and check whether everything is almost 90 degrees. Yes, take it out. There, perfect. If you want, you can adjust it a bit by slowly, not completely, just slowly squishing the sides together while it's still drying up. So that will allow you to change its angle by a slight notch, which might sometimes just be the perfect angle. Now the same thing on the other side. There, I'm just waiting for it to dry. Now, yes, we'll also be putting the motor mounting bracket on top, I mean on the front face, but since that's going to be 3D printed, it's going to take some time, and we'll be doing it later on. I guess it's all right to pick it up. Yep, it's okay now. So we will also be giving some brackets, or you can say some spacers. So you can put one up ahead over here, the other up ahead over here. They're going to be hollow. Yeah, they're going to be hollow spacers. So basically it will not let your power pod get crushed in some way while you're holding your whole plane from the sides. So that's just one little thing that we thought of adding. So yeah, the power pod is now done. Okay, now we'll be moving to the vertical stabilizer and the of course the tail as well, or the rudder as well. So now there's going to be a slight difference in what we do over here. So basically what we want to do is at the hind side. Okay, yeah, so the first thing you'll notice is that this thing also has a small crease cut over here. And so what you would want to do, just a sec, yeah, what you would want to do is you would want to apply some amount of tape on the back side, approximately like exactly in the center, or approximately in the center of the cut basically. And then you're going to open the cut, which will allow your rudder to move, but you'll notice that it's only movable in one direction, and that's mainly because of these edges, this edge actually, one of the edges. So what you'll want to do over here is you would want to apply a bevel cut on one of the you can say planes. So yeah, right. So as you can see, this base plate, this small little base section is actually very thin and very small. So what we are going to be doing here is that we will apply the bevel on the rudder. Now what a bevel cut is basically, well, bevel is more like a short form. The complete you can say the complete name of the cut is supposed to be 45-degree bevel cut. Yeah, basically the angle is being specified, nothing else. So whenever you hear the word bevel, that in our instructional videos, it's going to be meaning a 45-degree cut along the edge. So keeping it at approximately 45-degree, what I do is, well, you would, if you're not comfortable with using blades, you would want to do it away from yourself. But since I am actually very comfortable with these type of hobby knives, I'm going to apply my cut at 45-degree angle and slowly pull the blade towards me. Now you might want to keep it at a slanting angle, so that will just allow it to glide through the well, not exactly glide, but cut through the whole foam, like with very less friction actually. So that's going to be a main part over here, and you'll get a clean cut over here. As you can see, if it's not that clean, you can always use a sanding block and just sand the edges. Alternatively, you can also completely do it with a sanding block as well. So just getting rid of some unwanted foam pieces. Right, now what we're going to do is we're going to make a simple hinge for our rudder. Now yeah, well, we have given it a tape on one side, a packing tape on one side, but that's in the long run not going to hold on pretty well. So what you would want to do is, well, if you were gonna, if you would have been making these models with the balsa wood or some other form of wood, or maybe even nowadays 3D printing models are also being used, so maybe even 3D printing material, what you would want to do is you would actually want to fix hinges, like proper hinges, into the foam or into your rudder and your vertical stabilizer, and then actuate your surface with that. But since we cannot do that on well, you can do it on foam, but it's going to become slightly costly. since you would have to get the parts 3D printed and stuff, or you would have to buy it online. And so just to get rid of the trouble, we have this simple method of applying a small little you can say layer of glue right on the connecting line or the connecting portion, and then smear it off. So to smear it off, keep a spare foam piece ready, since hot glue is going to be very hot in greater quantities. Now start applying, not too much, but just a slight line of hot glue along the center. Then take your spare piece of foam and either towards yourself or away from yourself, smear off that hot glue. And what you're doing is actually you're pressing the hot glue inside, so that actually melts the foam and it creates this small hinge that well, over time does not get destroyed like your normal tape that will eventually, or maybe not eventually, but that might just lose its adhesion and just pop the whole section out. So since we don't want those type of accidents, we are going to be using some extra safety measures over here. Now just let it dry, and this should actually dry pretty quickly. And you would also notice that sometimes your glue application is slightly improper and it starts to peel off like this. Well, don't worry, just peel it off and you can go ahead and melt a little glue and then reapply it. But most of the times it's all right, it doesn't most of the times need reapplication. Okay, so now we're just going to wait for the glue to completely dry up. It's still a little warm. So what we're going to want to do now is that we would want to keep our surface, our control surface, like this onto the ground, and then just leave it over there. Right. Next, we'll be moving on to the horizontal stabilizer, and well, there are a few parts missing with the horizontal stabilizer as of now, since they're getting 3D printed currently. So we'll be trying to do our best without them for now. We'll like eventually give you guys the instruction on setting up or fixing those parts in place later in the video, of course. So now what you're going to do is the same thing. You're going to take a packing a piece of packing tape, or just a roll of packing tape actually, and just apply it approximately right in the center. So somewhere around here, that way. Smoothen out the edges of the the surface of the tape, and go ahead and cut it a bit further away like that. Keep the tape aside. Use the rounded section of your hobby knife or your pencil or your pen to just get rid of any air bubbles that may like rise while sticking the tape. Something like this. Don't press it in completely, else you'll have creases everywhere. Just lightly roll it over the surface, and then just cut out the remaining pieces of tape that are hanging loose on the ends or the edges, just like that. If you mess it up a bit, don't worry, you can always go back in, or you can also use a scissor at this point. There, roll it up, throw it away. Same thing gets continued all the way. Wherever you don't want the tape to be, just cut it off. Like this portion is supposed to be for your rudder. It's supposed to be the clearance for your rudder's rotation. So obviously you don't want your tape to be there and obstruct the rudder. So that's why cutting off the tape from here. Then also you can leave this. Okay, no, You can leave if your tape has overlapped these two parts, you can leave that, but you need to you have to remember to cut out this portion, since this is the place where our vertical stabilizer will be going on later. Just cut it out and peel it off just like that. Okay, once done, move on to the other side. So that all was done, the edges were taken out. Now we have two options over here. So one of the option is to take a skewer and just score this line or score this cut inside towards the left hand side of the or towards the opposite side, or you can say towards the leading side of the horizontal stabilizer, like that, and that should give you good enough clearance for a beginner. After you break, and you'll have to score it multiple times, and after that it's going to give you a good enough clearance. Or the other method is to apply a bevel cut once again, but this time the bevel is not going to be on the control surface, but you can say onto the stabilizer surface. So since this space over here is actually quite thin, so I'm gonna take my knife, hold it at an angle of 45 and just apply the cut. Now if you're working on the same plan with foam board, it's going to be slightly difficult to cut this with a smaller knife, but since this is Depron, it's actually quite easy, and it's almost as if the blade just glides through. If you mess up somewhere, feel free to go back and just give it a slight more aesthetic look. And even if you don't want to give it the aesthetic look, it's alright, since this hinge is actually going to go under, so it doesn't matter that much. Now you will notice, you would have actually noticed, and this thought would have come up in your mind, that if this space is so small and we're not like cutting on, we're not beveling the edge of the control surface because of this small thickness, wouldn't it just bend while the plane is flying? Well, yes, it will bend. It's actually bending right now as well, but what we will also be providing is a brace along with the control horn. So basically the control horn will be glued in, it'll be a part of the brace. So the brace is going to be of two layers, the top layer and the bottom layer. The bottom layer is going to house your control horn, and the top layer will be a flat surface, and it will be having 4 screw holes. So you'll have to take 4 screws and screw them in for the brace to hold the whole surface in place. So, and yeah, okay, so now the next step is to make the hinge again. So same thing, glue gun, a small amount of glue all along its sides, all along the edge. If you mess up, you can go in later, like that. Spare piece of foam, smear it off, rub off as much as glue as possible. Not necessary to rub it multiple times, but it works out to be the same. Yeah, it works out to be the same. And then just leave it to dry like that. And then we can focus our attention on our tail, the vertical stabilizer part of the tail. So it has glued in perfectly, and the hinge is actually quite free, and it's giving us a good enough deflection. Yeah, it's giving us a good enough deflection. That means I am happy with the results, and this is how I'll be gluing it in later on. And with that, we will only be left with sticking the control horn onto the surface and also the brace onto the surface. So for now we can put this part aside as well, and I am going to fill it up a little more since my hot glue gun did not give out enough glue, so I'll just do that quickly. Okay, and with that our horizontal stabilizer is done as well. So I'll just check if it's moving according to my reference. Yes, it is, although it has some small minor uh, glue wastes popping out in the middle, somewhere in the middle, somewhere on one of the ends. It's all right, it doesn't matter that much if it is bending all right. I'm just checking the deflection once. That should be good enough. Now we can keep this aside and we can move on to our next part. So next we'll be starting off with the fuselage, and the one of the very first things for the fuselage is going to be our small you can say spacer that goes up in the front. So the same thing is to be done on its backside. Apply some tapes, and there are actually two holes over here, so just apply pieces of tapes on them as well and poke out the holes just to maintain their integrity. It's not a necessary step, it's just a caution that I like to take while working with Depron. And with this thing we can see that it's been marked with a B type fold. So B type, as what the diagram suggests, is going to be a fold in which the base plate goes beside the side plate goes beside the base plate. So to do that, we'll first remove the center portion over here. So just go ahead and pop it off. You'll be left with only the tape in the center, and same thing on the other side. And of course, if these if these ridges or sides have not been popped out, what you'd want to do is you'd want to take your take your business card and run it along the score cut on both the sides, and then you will just be able to pop it out easily. Or if you're not able to do it easily, just go over it a few times, it'll happen on its own. Then just take out the waste parts, shove them aside, and this is what you'll be left with. So B fold over here is going to look something like this. It's going to go up against your side while sitting flushed on the ground, something like this. So this will make your B fold. We'll just do that quickly now, and I would want my triangle set square actually to be ready on my hand. Now for B fold, since the side plate is going over the base plate, we will since the side plate is going beside the base plate, or the base plate is going over the side plate, we will apply the glue on the side of the base plate, or basically this side, the one that's supposed to glue in. So applying generous amount of glue over there. B fold goes in the side. Remember to not use your bare hands for this if you're not too experienced, else you'll end up burning your fingers. But if you're experienced with burning your fingertips, then it's alright. Hold it in place for about 40 seconds. So hot glue takes up almost 40 seconds to dry completely. And it takes about 15 to 20 seconds to dry up partially. So now it is dried up partially, and you can still feel some amount of heat through the tape over here. So that's just Then the same thing on the other side, on the other hand side as well. B-fold and glue it in. So B-fold means the base is going to get stuck to the side. Base plate goes beside the side plate. Smear off excess glue, not with your finger of course. Use a spare piece of foam or some other piece of unwanted waste equipment, waste product. And then of course the set square to match up with the perpendicular angle. Hold it in place for about 10 seconds. You can also blow it a little so that it dries up a little more quickly. Then after drying, this brace or this bracket should stay like this, and this is going to end up being put in the front portion of our fuselage. Right, now we can keep this aside for the moment, and you might want to clear off any glues that is stuck onto your surface, because now we'll be moving on to the main fuselage. So the main fuselage is actually quite big in size. It's about 70 centimeters in its length, so I might not be able to cover it completely. I'll try my best. Right, somewhere about there, or maybe let's just start from the front side first. So we can see that there are some shaded areas, and then there are some cutout pieces over here. So these cutout pieces, you can just punch them out using your barbecue skewer, or you can go ahead and cut them using your hobby knife. I'll show both the methods. First, the barbecue skewer method. Pop it in and just take it out like that. It's a lot safer, and it's not exactly easy to do, and also it does not leave a clear, you can say, yeah, it does not leave a clear end result. So what I generally use is my hobby knife to do the same thing. Go ahead, cut it from all sides, turn it over, and just take out the excess foam. That's it, it's gone. Same thing, hobby knife, bury it in and just cut out the pieces. Cut out these pieces, but don't just pop them out yet, since they'll actually be playing a major role later on, and we'll want to keep them for now. So just keep that in mind. Don't pop these out just yet. This one, yes, you can pop out. So just like that, and that as well. Go ahead, bring it out, turn it over. You'll see that some amount of tape has come off. Oh yeah, and I also taped the sides just like the previous builds, and just cut the tape or remove it, remove the excess foam, and that should be good enough for now. Right, now you will see that there are these semi punched out holes for the wings over here. These also will help us with the integrity for now, so keep them as they are and focus on the main section over here. So you'll see that there are some, okay, well, one more is left, we'll take it out later. So you'll see that there are some shaded areas over here. That means we'll be removing that foam. So go ahead, take your business card or your credit card, old credit card, run it, put it inside and just run it through like that. Same thing. Oh yeah, so business cards get warped from the edges. Okay, yes. Anyways, I'll just use my knife. Like that. Go ahead, slowly pop it out, and you'll see that some of the foam is just stuck to the surface, the side base plate or the side plate. Just simply pull it apart and you can remove some bits of foam over here from here, and basically you can fill this up later on with hot glue, so that gets covered up. And then you'll want to do the same thing. Make sure that it splits. Don't pop this out yet. Make sure that it splits from both the ends. Yeah, so as you can see, it's not splitting up properly. So I know now that I have to, and now I know that I have to go ahead and make the score cut a little more deep, just like that, over there, and it should happen with much better results now. There we go. There, same thing, one finger in the middle, the other finger over, make it appear as if it's a C, something like that. Go ahead and peel off the excess middle foam or excess foam that's there in the middle. Sorry. Keep doing it. And yeah, now it would want to just come out, so just let it come out for now. We'll deal with that later on. And reaching towards the end. Sorry about that, it's a little longer for the camera's field of vision. So okay, so with that we must, I'm so sorry, right, so with that we must be left with something that looks like this. And as mentioned over here again, it's a B fold, so the side plate goes beside the base plate. And while making this fold, you might want to keep in mind that at its ends it's got these small you can say hatches, so just keep that in mind and keep it at a surface that's slightly elevated so that you don't damage the small little protrusion over there, and bend it over to make sure that your fit is proper there. If it's not proper, if you think that it should bend a bit more, go ahead and mark the points now, and then you can open it. Oh yeah, so you'll also see that there's this point marked over here as the same color coding. So this is going to be the place where our motor angle or the angle of thrust is fixed. So be careful if you're repairing your plane, then be careful while cutting this part out, since hampering with the angle of thrust will actually create a disbalance in your aircraft, which will cause your aircraft to have a yawing motion, unwanted yawing motion in it. So because of the P factor of the propeller, so we don't want that, so you have to be careful. Then yeah, right, the same thing, either the knife or the credit card, and then go ahead, remove the center foam. Can be slightly harder than expected, but if you do it correctly, it just slides off. We can actually use this bit later on, so to smear off some parts. So over here, this part is going to be folded over and on top of our base plate, something like this. This fold is called a C fold. So this is one of the this is the third type of fold that you'll be seeing over here. So the C fold will actually create this double wall, if you can see, like that. So we have to fold it over and glue it in place. I'll just make slight corrections to mine. Yes, it's correct now. So practice your fold first and then you can glue it in later. Before gluing it in, remember to remove this line as well. Go ahead, either one, then just give the score cut a slightly more, you can say, clearance. And then you can also go ahead and try to use the back side of your blunt knife, so that helps as well, just like that. Yeah, just like that. Once done, you'll be able to pop your board out with ease. Now you can remove these. Actually, you're not going to be needing them anytime sooner, so it's all right for now. Keep the tape aside. Okay, and now the other side. So just go ahead and try to crack it open. If it's not cracking open, then take your knife, back side of your knife, go ahead and give that score cut a good amount of space, or give that foam a good amount of space to actually be able to just pop loose. And if that still does not happen, then you can also go ahead and you can also take up a barbecue skewer and manually cut through all the foam. So either way works out. And yeah, so we'll just skip this part. Okay, now that that is done, we'll first focus on the C fold that we have to make. So this plate is going to go under a C fold. Just get it cleared. Right, now what I want to do is I'm gonna put slight pressure on its leading edge just to bend it, and then take my foam and place its top part onto the top part of your bottom plate. I mean, well, it's going to be the top, so basically the plate over here, and it's going to look something like this. Right, just like that. So if you line it up properly, the sides will be flat, and yeah, basically that the sides will be flat, and you'll be ending up with something like this. So to just see if your fold is correct, yeah, actually it is there. It's perfectly flat, as I can feel it right now, and it's supposed to be perfect. So So now that I have decided where I will place my part, I'll take my hot glue gun and put a good amount of, not too much, but still a good amount of hot glue over here. One thing to keep in mind is that the amount of hot glue does not determine the strength of your joint, it's the placement. So okay, now I'm going to place it at the edge first, but slightly below the edge first. Press it and move it along the edge. Position it correctly so that its sides are leveled, and just hold it over there so that it dries up in place. Just while doing that, just press it down a little so that it has a better shape to it. And yeah, that's all. Just keep it pressed 10 seconds. That should be good enough. You can remove your hand now and it will be stuck over there. Perfect. Now we can focus our minds onto these plates. Well, not exactly that, but the side plates. So it's stated as a B fold. B fold means beside. So I want my side plate to go beside the bottom plate, just like this. Same way over here as well, but I guess there will be a slight 19-20 difference over here. Yes, okay, actually wait, there isn't. So perfect, same thing over here as well. B fold, B fold. There, now that I know what my fold will look like and I am happy with it, what I'll do is I'll keep my set squares handy, take my glue gun, and B-fold meaning the base plate is going to get stuck, so apply the glue onto the base plate. And yes, my stick is about to end, so be careful to not change your stick while gluing something, since if your hot gun does not have a temperature control, it's going to end up getting solidified in place while you fix up your stick inside. So just be careful of that. Little more glue and that should be all right. B fold, so side goes up to the base, hold it in place, put up your set square, hold it, yeah, if it's going to get stuck to the working mat, then well, there are ways to get around that. So we just first put our attention on fixing it. So hold it 20 seconds. Remember to not put much pressure to it, else it will just break. So that's one thing. Guess that should be good enough for now. Yeah. Okay. So so if this thing happens, if this joint breaks loose, it's not a thing to worry about. You can fix it up later, and you can also have it intentionally break from here and also over here if you want your wing to be removable. But since removable wings have their own problems, we generally don't advise that. Now to remove this, if it's stuck to the base and you want to remove it, start by slowly rotating the whole base plate. If that's not happening, then try turning it over, and eventually you'll get it released like that. So I guess the tape was stuck to the ground over here, and that's why it did what it did. There we go. This thing, to repair that, just take a small piece of glue over here, smear off some excess, and just place it at its place. And oh, don't touch it just yet, let it dry first and then you can go ahead and touch it. So until that is drying up, or maybe I just need a little more glue, right there. So until that is drying up, we'll want to move. Okay, wait, so one more thing, if it keeps loosening up, what you can do is take a small piece of tape and apply it on that. Just like that. Apply it so that it is held in place. And if you want, you can even remove it later on. Like there, like that. Remove any excess glue if there is, and that should be good for one side. Same goes with the other side. B-fold up and the same thing. Okay, so now that that is done, we'll shift over to the bottom part of our fuselage, bottom hind part actually. So this has one crease, or well, it may be a crease or it might also be a score in your product. You may have to open it up a little, so it should be something like this. And it's also going to have one more mark up at the top, so you're gonna wanna use your skewer and just remove some of that foam from here. We'll do that soon. Before that, as you can see on the sides, we have these shaded areas, so that means we have to remove that part of foam. So just do it quickly. If it does not come out in one piece, it's all right. You can always just break it slowly. And there we go. Go over down, sorry, yeah, go over down. Oh, hold on one second, let me just get things into focus. Right, one side done, other side. Right, with that all done, we'll focus on this front part. So take your skewer, and or if it's not properly cut first, take your knife and just slightly score it. There, score cut is done. Then take your skewer with the pointed edge first, go through and open that hatch up. Then with the blunt edge, go through a second time and press those balls on the sides like that. So that will actually clear out a gap in the middle, and that way you can bend this guy up a little in the future. well, that's going to go up over here, so we need it for that. Well, now you'll see that, sorry, you'll see that in the fuselage this portion has got this curve. So now to induce that curve, well, we have two different ideas available. One of them is to use a flat edge of a strong surface, something like this box over here. Use this as your base, and while giving slight pressure on this edge, start pulling your foam down. So if you do that right over a couple of tries, first try it out with some waste foam and then do this, and if you get it right, then you should see a slight curve in your foam, and that is what we want. So just keep doing that until you feel that it's absolutely correct. Slightly more over here will do. Okay, that should be good enough. So we can move this box aside and focus on our fuselage again. Yeah, that will be good. Now keep your fuselage up, and so as you can see, my fuselage over here for some reason has this extra edge, so that means I'll have to go through some extra steps to cut it out and trim it out a little. But if yours does not have that, then you don't need to follow the same steps. I'll address the steps when the time comes. So now just test fit your bottom plate. What you can also alternatively do is that first join the sides plate together, and then just while giving slight amount of pressure from the sides, roll this up like this, then get it in your grip and hold it in place there. So at the end it's going to look something like that when it's curved, and if you like how that feels and like how that looks, then you can go ahead and remove it. I'll just check one more step. So this is me checking for that small little error that happened while cutting the piece out. There we go. So if your foam piece has this type of error, don't worry, it's actually quite simple to repair. So what you have to do is use your right foam as a reference for your left foam first, and then use your left foam as a reference for your right foam later. Cut out the excess foam parts, and basically the edge should be approximately even over here at least. So something like that. If it's not even, you can always take up a barbecue skewer and even it out, but if you do it correctly, it should be even. Perfect. And then yeah, if that comes out, doesn't matter for now, right? Sorry. So now you match it up, match these hatches up, and just cut a relief where you can find the excess part there. That should do. Then over here, as you can see, this extension is going in the excess. Just trim it out according to the shorter one. Trim out the whole section according to the shorter one. There, that's it. So this was for the repairs of some minor glitches here and there. Those glitches usually come when we are printing our plans due to some technical issues with the printers, so it cannot be avoided most of the time. Now what you want to do is you would want to fix the curved part first. So keeping the curved part in position, bend all the other parts upwards so that they're out of the way. Then carefully apply glue on the sides. So this is also going to look like So this is also going to look like a B fold. So B fold is basically this becomes your base plate and these are your side plates. So your side plates go beside your base plate and that's the B fold. So apply the glue onto your side plate. Sorry. Yeah. Apply the glue onto your side plate. And yes, you can see that your sellotape will start to warp a little, but don't worry, that happens. Just put not too much but neither too little, just the right amount onto your base and hitch one side up and then the other. Make sure that the frontmost parts are touching each other, then slowly bend the other parts into place, something like this. There, you can smear off the excess and just hold on to everything while it glues down or while it sticks there. Or if you're a bit cynical like me and you want everything to be in perfect shape, then you'll end up doing this step. Else you can just keep it as it is and check out the small errors later on. Keep it as it is, hold on for around 20 to 30 seconds. Remember not to put too much pressure on the plane, so just light pressure is alright, but apart from that anything else can be catastrophic, so keep that in mind. Hold it together, and when you feel that the glue has started to cool down, you can start by letting go slowly like that. And then of course if you want to do some corrections here and there, feel free to go ahead and do the corrections. Yes, perfect. Well, so my sellotape got warped up over there, so what I'll do is I'll just go over here, use my razor blade and clear off the sellotape. It's not required, it's just for beautification. There's no other clear purpose for this step. Clear it off and it should be flat again. Now that this place is stuck, we'll shift our attention to the lower back plate. This one, apply glue on the sides and the same thing. Be careful of applying too much or too hot amount of hot glue, because that can melt your foam to, well, a greater extent. Alright, then close it slowly and see, that's why you don't use bare hands. Smear off excess hot glue with a spare piece of foam or even a scale would do at this point, and then yeah, just smear it off and just let it dry. That's it. So just let it dry and our fuselage should be all done. Oh wait, before that, shift your attention to the top. Notice how we just left out this piece. Well, we're going to do it now. So to do this, this edge needs to be bent a little more, so go ahead, use your barbecue skewer and push that edge inside a bit more, just like that. That way you'll be able to bend this edge over something like that. Get that bend correct, bend angle correct, and then when you're satisfied, take your glue gun, apply the glue in the middle, not much, just a small amount to hold it in place. Then in the sides, then again not much, just small amounts, and then take your excess foam piece and hold it up against its position, since it's going to be a bit hot, and just wait until it dries, and that way your fuselage will be done. Now that it's all dried up, we can shift our attention to the center plate, the center base plate. This piece, it will just go up like that. So yeah, of course we'll have to take out these ends. So I have already scored these edges over here, so all I have to do is just peel it off. But if you are taking this piece in your hand, you might want to score it first and then break it from this edge, and then take out this excess foam layer there. Then just one sec, hot glue just got stuck to my skin. Yeah, okay, never mind. Then just go ahead and test fit your product first. So just hold it in place like that, and yeah, so there is a small curve in it, so you would want to induce a slight amount of curve. We'll do that soon. Then take this plate as well, align these holes up such that they match up with these holes, so that will be basically like this, and shove this plate in and see if everything fits according to how it should. Okay, so you can see that there's this small little deflection in my fuselage. Well, that's all right, it happens sometimes. All you have to do is get your glue and glue in this plate first, and then glue in the others. So just testing out. Yeah, yes, need to do that. Right. Okay, so to do this step, you might want to take your barbecue skewer and place it in place first, so that you're happy with the placement of this piece, and just check if everything is all right in general. There. Be careful, don't destroy your plane. Then just see if everything matches up. If something is not matching up, you can always go in later and change a few things here and there. Right, now that everything is looking fine, what I'll do is I'll put some glue onto these pieces. And okay, before doing that, I'll take my power pod and I'll just have a practice fit to make sure that it's actually fitting in place. If it's not fitting in place, then I'll have to use some well, not exactly use, but I'll have to do some slight changes here and there. Keep that aside. Take your power pod all the way up. Make sure to line it up, and press it in place. Just like that. There, just like that. Good enough. Also have got our 3D printed parts ready, so I'll just brush over what the parts are. So the first part is this firewall. This firewall is designed after the 2212 series motors. So yeah, or you can also fix 3536 motors on it. So it depends on what you're using, and it goes over like this, like that. Yes, it goes over like that. So I'm just waiting for my hot glue to heat up, and then I'll just put this quickly. So okay, so one of the parts is the motor mount that you just saw. Then the other part is your brace. So this is what your brace is going to look like. Maybe a little shorter in height. Yeah, little shorter in height, but this is what a brace is going to look like. So brace will be going inside over here, like this, and you can glue it together. So that's all, little shorter in height. Or you can also glue them in like this, so that works as well, like that. Or you can also opt to completely not glue them, and yeah, that also works. Then we have this arrangement. I had tried to make it we had tried to make it as thin as possible, so that's why yeah, okay, so that's why it's a bit flexible. But if we so this thickness is 1 mm, but if we take the thickness to be 2 mm, it will be a little less flexible and a little more sturdy. So, and this is the first part. The second part, I've already put it in place. So the second part is the whole thing except for the control horn, like without the control horn attached. So something like this. What we're going to do is we have to stick this part on the top and the control horn part on the bottom, like that, and then yeah, and then we can use 4 screws to fix it in place. And I guess I'll also have to use some other extra things on top of this one because of its extra flimsiness for now. Okay, so the gun has heated up to quite a good extent now, and I'll be fixing the power pod together. So this opening goes down and rest everything is up, and basically these 2 holes go up and this single opening goes down. Now what we're gonna do is you're gonna apply a good amount of hot glue onto the top surface here, just like this. Similarly over here, extend it till here. You're gonna take your firewall and just spread the glue out a little, and then use this to glue it. I mean with the same glue, just glue it in place, or rather just hold it in place, and it should get stuck to it. If you can see some excess here and there, take a spare piece of foam and rub it off. There. After this, it's always better to secure your power pod with packing tape. So go ahead and grab your packing tape once again. Before that, make sure that your hands are not filled up with hot glue material. Right. Go ahead and grab some packing tape. And place it over here like this. So apply multiple layers, first short layers, then long layers. Just helps in the long run, like that. Sorry for doing that off cam. Yeah, just like that. And then this excess foam, take your scissor or your cutter, one cut here, one cut here, fold it over and fold it down, or fold it over again and then fold it down. Now repeat this three to four times with slightly longer tapes. Okay, so by now I have done it 4 times and it's got good enough strength, so I leave it at that. That was for power pod. We'll be continuing